Recording.
All right, I started.
Greetings. This is Solution Focused Counseling Assignment 2 that will be done by Wendell Sims and Royce Robinson. Royce Robinson is myself. I'll be acting as the client and my good friend, brother, and classmate Wendell as the counselor. I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You can see who the nervous one is. But I'll be acting as the counselor, and my brother Wendell Sims will be acting as the client. All right.
All right, sir.
So you said you'd like to go by Brother Wendell. Is that correct?
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Brother Wendell.
Well, I am in ministry. I've been in ministry for a number of years now. I'm happily married. I am a pastor of a church, as a matter of fact,
Okay.
and also an educator, school teacher, teacher English, middle school. And I just have been grieving the passing of my father, and been having some issues with doing so much, having to do the planning of the homegoing service, having to preach the eulogy, that I don't feel like I've really grieved, allowed myself to fully grieve his passing.
Okay.
And so it's coming out in extraneous, pretty much spending habits.
Okay. Okay.
Is I'm spending hours away from home, in Walmart or in the department store. I'm buying multiple sports coats and
Gotcha.
ties. So I'm trying to get a handle on this. And then there's a part of me that's getting angry with siblings, but I'm not expressing it to them, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But that they didn't do more, that I've done so much. And then there's a part of me that has a little anger towards my dad, if that makes sense. I mean, I
Sure.
loved him, but there was such a distance between us growing up.
Okay.
Until he loved New York. He was originally from South Carolina, but he loved New York. I was born and raised in New York. The whole family was, and I matriculated to South Carolina for college, and then a number of my siblings came behind me. I was the first one to accept Christ. I was the first one to go in ministry. I was the first college graduate from the family, and sort of I'll say God used me as an evangelist to go get the others. So I went back and got my witness to my siblings, and at least 3 or 4 of them came down, ended up moving down here.
Okay.
But during the passing of my dad moved back to South Carolina only because we were here. He was the only one left in New York. And he said he was moving down here because he knew he was dying.
Okay.
And he didn't want to die alone in New York. He wanted to be around his children. And so when he came down, we talked, and he talked about, he was very strategic in his planning for his departure. And we talked about that, and he looked at me, he said, "You're going to do the funeral." It wasn't an option.
Okay.
Which I didn't mind doing that because I did have time. The Lord graced me with some time spent with him as being one of his primary caretakers in his last, few months living. So I was able to, you could say, especially craft a sermon, a eulogy,
Okay.
particularly tailored to him, based upon getting to know him
Sure.
in those last few months. He was just so quiet growing up. He was there, but he was the father that was present but was absent, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Sure.
He was
Sure.
he was there, but he was not a communicator. And so it's just heavy to have lost, and to only have gained like a year of real close interaction.
Okay.
Now, I could remember growing up, he would take us to the barber shop. And then I guess when he didn't have the money to pay for our haircuts, he would cut our hair himself. And we had to suffer some messed up haircuts throughout. But I enjoyed the time. I was with my dad.
Sure.
So it didn't matter back then how messed up the hair was. I mean, it did matter when we get amongst friends and everything, growing up. But the key was, in retrospect, was that it was time spent with dad,
Sure.
and that was very valuable. So I'm just trying to really wrap my mind around um, how to deal with this right. Am I grieving properly? Am I, spending too much time in grief? I know I'm spending too much money. I do know that.
Okay. Okay.
Possibly, and my wife reconciles all of the accounts, so I'm just a swiper.
Right. 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 I
I
understand.
picked out the card and I swiped,
I understand.
and she's starting to say, you're not getting paid that often now. What you buying?
Right.
Who you shopping for? But she sees, she does see the evidence that I'm coming in with stuff. Occasionally I buy something for her, but it's mostly me. It's like I really feel like I need to spend time focusing on me. This is not my way of getting through. And I don't know why. I get some joy out of just walking through Walmart. I could be in Walmart for 90 minutes.
Wow.
Just walking walking through Walmart,
Look.
you know, going to the technology department, going to,
Wow.
and
It,
then if I leave Walmart, I'm at Burlington,
okay.
Burlington Coat Factory, and I'm trying on suit jackets and ties and shirts and shoes, especially. And I'm like, this stuff got to match.
Yeah. Has to match, of course. Of
It
course.
has to match.
Well, Brother Wendell, man, very, very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. I really
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
that. And I feel like I've gotten to know you very well. In fact, I too am a minister. And so it's almost like I can understand what you're going through in terms of you being a minister and preaching and teaching and consoling so many, but who preaches to the preacher? You know,
Right.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like one of those situations when you need somebody to console. So I'm glad you're here. I can tell you a little bit about what we do with solution focused counseling. Is our goal is to really not so much look at the problem, but it's actually to look forward. Look in the present where we are today, but more so to look forward into a better future than what we have. And so when I hear you talk about the things in terms of your father, I think, or how your grieving process with your dad. I was taking a few notes, so if you saw me look away, it was just me kind of notating some things so I can know what I wanted to come back to and deal with. But I think we can definitely help with what we have to offer through solution focused counseling. One of the things I want to talk about is you mentioned how you didn't you spent time with dad as a kid and you enjoyed that time when he was coming to give you those bad haircuts. But you didn't mind just as long as you were with dad. But you also talked about dad. moving from New York to South Carolina when he found out he was dying, and how that kind of bothered you with the time you had to spend. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, why didn't he come sooner? He would come on visits to South Carolina for like 2 days.
Okay.
And we not find out, we meaning my siblings and I, and we were all grown at this time,
Okay.
but we not find out that dad's even in South Carolina until the second day
Okay.
when he's on his way back to New York. And I'm like, what the world? What's going on? So it's kind of bittersweet. I was glad that I had opportunity to spend that time with him. I made it as quality a time as it could be, but it was just caregiving time at that time because he was dying of cancer.
Okay. Okay.
And if he had come sooner to spend that time, you follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
To spend more quality time when he was well,
Hmm.
uh, it would have been more effective. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that it makes the grief process, I guess, a little more challenging for me.
Sure.
And then I'm not had to deal with anything like this where you you don't just attend the homegoing of your father, but you actually have to comfort those that attend, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I mean, it really was. I gained a lot of my comfort through helping others,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So when I was up there preaching his homegoing, I was receiving healing and comfort myself
Sure.
at that time because I'm at my best when I'm helping others. That's just my internal nature, I guess. I'm at my best when I'm offering help and assistance to others. So I'm looking at mom, I'm looking at my siblings, and I'm standing up there in the pulpit. Then my best friend, who was presiding at that time for me, he gave me a advice. He said, "Do not sit with the family facing that casket the whole time, and then get up and preach." He said, "Sit in the pulpit." He said, view the body, march in with the family, view the body, but then take your seat in the pulpit so you're not looking at the casket the whole time because you could be overcome with grief and then that affect your delivery. And that was one of the smartest, I mean, pieces of advice that I could have used. So, I mean, I was ready when it came time. The choir had sang, and I was ready. I
Sure.
was ready, and I had, like I said, over those months, he and I had shared a lot of humorous moments. I
Mhm.
mean, finding out what his favorite movie was, colors. I was just taking notes throughout those months and was able to address it. Yeah.
Gotcha. 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 So what I'm gathering from our conversation thus far, Wendell, in terms of a goal that we would like to be heading towards, what will be our goal during this time? I think it's for you to find maybe comfort or resolution in the relationship you had with your dad in the last days, even though it wasn't what you would have preferred, him moving to South Carolina right before he died, him not being there, or during his visits, him showing, you guys finding out day two instead of day one, or, on the last day. It sounds like the goal would be to find some resolution with the time that you did have with him and the time that you were able to spend, and maybe finding some resolution or some satisfaction, if you will, in the fact that you were able to eulogize him in a great way, and you were
Yes.
able to
Yes.
comfort the family in one of those ways. Okay, okay, good deal. Let me ask you a question. We call this a miracle question. A miracle question. If you could wake up tomorrow and things be different in terms of how things turned out with your dad, what would it look like?
it would, I think it would look like me having one more conversation with him.
Okay. Okay.
If I, if I could tell him that, I mean, he knew that I loved him and he shared that he loved me, but just even though I knew he was dying, I wanted to tell him that I don't hold that against him.
Okay.
The short times we spent and everything, and I really don't. Um, I just think that if that's not going to happen, but if I could, um, maybe I should go out to the cemetery because I'm a person that I don't visit the cemetery. Once they're in the
That's good.
ground,
That's
I don't go back. I don't like some people. I know his sister, my auntie, and his brother. He has one brother that's has two brothers that's living, my two uncles, but one of them is in New Jersey, and he would come down once a year and he'll visit, Dad's grave and everything. I won't meet him out there because I don't go back to the grave.
yes.
So maybe um, that might be something for me to do just to um, I guess theoretically ask whatever I wanted to ask. And I know I'm not going to get a response, but just share right there at the cemetery. And I think I might feel better if
You
I
know,
did that.
I think Wendell, I think you're onto something. I think you really have possibly found the solution to, that resolution that you're looking for. That, hey man, I I I can't go back and create more time with dad. But I can number one appreciate the time that I did have. I can kind of treat it like I did those haircuts.
Yeah.
Hey, I was with dad and I enjoyed
Right.
the time with dad. So you've actually felt that before, and you know what it's like to appreciate the time you do have. But then find that closure with the fact that, hey, dad, it wasn't as much as I would have preferred, or it wasn't as much as I think you could have given. And but then maybe find some closure to that. So I would say I would support you on that visit to the cemetery, and I know what that's like. I've had to do that myself, just so you know, and
Wow.
and I found it to be helpful to me. So I would like to say that would be a good solution to what it is you're trying to accomplish in terms of your goal of finding closure and that type of thing. Brother Wendell, how do you feel about our time together today?
So I think it's great. And I also think that dad would probably encourage me not to be spending all that money on those jackets.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
so
indeed.
so I think I got the resolution to all of that
Yeah,
with the one trip to the cemetery.
that one trip to the cemetery could be very financially beneficial to you, Wendell.
Yes,
And I'm sure your wife would appreciate it as well.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
This
brother,
has been this has been great. This has been great.
amen.
I appreciate it.
Amen. Well, listen,
Appreciate you.
thanks for coming by and thanks for entrusting us with what it is that you're going through. And we're glad to be of service. I will tell you this: if at any time you feel like you need to do a follow up or come back, you can do that by all means. The lady out front at the desk will sign you up for another appointment should you choose to do so. Also, she'll have a business card for you. You can take that business card with you and use it at your discretion if you feel like you need to come back and talk to us. It's been a pleasure for me, and I look forward to at least hearing about the benefit and the trip to the cemetery. Send me an email. Let me know how it went.
I will do that. I
All
will
right.
do
Sir.
that.
God bless you.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you.